Good day, folks, and welcome back to Viking.TV. My name is Aaron Lawton. I'm the head of expedition operations for Viking, and I'm joined this evening by my colleagues. On my right, Dr. Damon Stanwell-Smith, and on my left, our director of operations, Jørn Henrikson. We're going to I'll talk tonight about the Longitudinal World Cruise I itinerary, and then we'll be here to answer your questions about that itinerary after the presentation.
In 65 days, you'll sail from the end of the world to the Great Lakes. This grand voyage is for those of you who have dreamed of experiencing a sensationally unique journey, exploring some of the most remote places on Earth, while also discovering celebrated American and Canadian cities. Viking has created a profoundly enriching itinerary designed to take you on a journey across the Americas, which will give you the chance to explore Tierra del Fuego, home to the southernmost city in the world, and the Antarctic Peninsula, home to towering mountains, glacial plateaus, and colonies of penguins. Immerse yourself in nature through the scenic Chilean fjords, and hail the wonders of the Panama Canal, a 20th century engineering marvel. Magnificent wildlife and dramatic, unexplored landscapes will unfold before you during landings and excursions, as you relax in the comfort of your state-of-the-art stateroom. From there, we'll navigate the locks of the Great Lakes and see iconic towns and cities along the largest freshwater system in the world. As you can observe from this itinerary map, the Longitudinal World Cruise I begins in Ushuaia, Argentina, heads south to the Antarctic Peninsula, and then starts exploring north, up the western coast of South America, through the Panama Canal, and across the Caribbean, before sailing up North America's eastern seaboard and into the Gulf of St. Lawrence and the mighty St. Lawrence River, concluding in the Great Lakes city of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Viking will offer the Longitudinal World Cruise I in March 2023. This itinerary also includes some scenic sailing days, offering a front row seat to view some of the world's most beautiful scenery, and time on board to relax in the Nordic spa or to learn more about the history of explorers along your journey. You will sail this itinerary on board our new expedition ship, the Viking Octantis. Carrying 378 guests, this state-of-the-art vessel is small enough to navigate remote areas, yet large enough to provide speed, superior handling, and stability in the roughest seas. Throughout the ship, there is a focus on panoramic views, and you'll be as close as possible to the most majestic terrains on Earth. Viking Expeditions merges comfort and exploration in an unprecedented way. The optimized ship size facilitates enhanced enrichment activities by carrying a fleet of Zodiacs, special operations boats, kayaks, and submarines, and providing outstanding venues for onboard lectures and learning. An industry first, the hangar brings true comfort to expedition cruising. This enclosed in-ship marina permits the launch of small excursion craft through the ship's multiple shell doors. The hangar's most innovative feature is an 85-foot slipway that allows guests to embark on special operations boats from a flat, stable surface inside the ship, shielded from wind and waves. Here is a short video showcasing the hangar. Designed as a working research vessel, Viking Octantis is equipped with a well-appointed science lab and significant underway scientific monitoring capacity. Our onboard science lab and citizen science programs further enable discovery and immersion into your destinations. On board, our chief scientist will direct the scientific research programs and share updates on our research throughout the voyage. Viking has partnered with leading globally recognized institutions to enrich your experience. Scientists from the University of Cambridge's Scott Polar Research Institute will undertake fieldwork on board our expedition ships. Ornithologists of the Cornell Lab of Ornithology, a bird research facility, will regularly be on board, field testing new observation methods and providing advice to guests. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, or NOAA, is an American scientific agency within the United States Department of Commerce that focuses on the conditions of the oceans, major waterways, and the atmosphere. Field research scientists representing our partners will work with our chief scientist and field research assistant to conduct a research program on each voyage. Every journey will also be accompanied by a team of experts, including our Viking expedition team and our Viking specialists, ranging from biologists, botanists, geologists, glaciologists, oceanographers, and ornithologists, to polar experts and researchers. These specialists may be found in our onboard science lab, at Expedition Central in the aula, or out on deck, and will work to enrich the experience, offering guests a unique opportunity to support and participate in the operation of a working scientific research voyage. The Longitudinal World Cruise I itinerary is an awe-inspiring adventure which travels from the end of the world near the Antarctic Peninsula to the Great Lakes, so it's important to consider the differences in both weather and climate when planning your voyage and packing. We suggest you pack comfortable walking shoes, dress shoes, a collapsible umbrella, and lightweight rain gear. Items you can layer like lightweight jackets and sweaters, sunglasses, a sun hat, visor, sunscreen, and toiletries, including a travel-sized hand sanitizer. You will start your trip during the austral autumn, or fall in the southern hemisphere, and end it during the boreal, or northern hemisphere's spring, traveling through the tropics and equatorial region to connect the two regions. Throughout the voyage, you may find yourself transitioning from a warm coat and gloves to a sun hat and mosquito repellent. Clothes that can be layered together or worn separately are ideal on a voyage of this nature. For expeditions in the polar regions, a detailed packing list will be provided. To further ensure that you get the most out of your experience, guests will receive a Viking expedition kit, which includes the use of boots, binoculars, waterproof pants, and outerwear, plus a Viking expedition jacket to keep. For those of you who wish to start your trip early in South America, we have pre-trip extensions in and around glorious Buenos Aires. Choose between Buenos Aires and the Paraná Delta for 3 nights. Discover the rich cultural history of Buenos Aires, Argentina, and explore the enchanting waterways of the Paraná Delta. Or Iguazu Falls in Buenos Aires for 4 nights. Explore enchanting Buenos Aires, home of the tango, followed by a trip to the majestic Iguazu Falls of the Atlantic rainforest. Now let's explore this itinerary, day by day. Welcome to Buenos Aires, where your adventure begins. Arrive and check into your hotel. Argentina's cosmopolitan capital is an eclectic combination of Spanish, French, and Italian cultural heritage. From intricate architecture and decadent cuisine to a vibrant nightlife and dancing, the home of the tango is home to an electrifying spirit. Catch a live tango performance in the city's cobblestone backstreets, or relax with a glass of Argentine red wine. It is often easy to forget you're in a big city, as the many barrios or neighborhoods exude an intimate atmosphere. After breakfast, you will check out of your hotel and fly to your embarkation city, Ushuaia, Argentina, the southernmost city in the world. Nestled between the Beagle Channel and the southernmost slopes of the Andes, Ushuaia is the capital of and gateway to the world-famous Tierra del Fuego, or the Land of Fire. Just 600 miles from the Antarctic Peninsula, this unspoiled place serves as a wonderful outpost for expeditions. Sail across the historic Drake Passage, a 600-mile stretch between Cape Horn and the South Shetland Islands off the coast of the Antarctic Peninsula. This passage is named after the 16th century English explorer Sir Francis Drake. Learn about this history or other aspects of the voyage through an enriching lecture or a film in the aula, our panoramic screening venue on board. Antarctica's enigmatic beauty has long intrigued and inspired explorers from all over the globe. Throughout the next 7 days, it's your chance to experience the unique majesty in store on the world's southernmost continent. In this icy wilderness, you can marvel at dramatic icebergs and mountains cloaked in white. Perhaps you'll even catch a glimpse of some wildlife during your time here. The coasts are known habitats for wildlife such as gentoo and Adelie penguins, and Antarctic and snow petrels. Also, the Southern Ocean is home to several incredible marine species, including humpback, fin, and minke whales that frequent this area. Here is a short video of some of the wildlife you may see in Antarctica.
At the far ends of the Earth, in some of the most extreme environments imaginable, live some of the world's most resilient creatures. Antarctica's nearly unlivable conditions for most of the year are well documented. Yet life abounds during the short but spectacular summer season on the White Continent. The oceans are filled with fascinating life, including some of the world's largest living mammals. With their distinctive humps and unique black and white tail patterns, humpback whales are easy to spot in these frigid waters. Humpbacks come to Antarctica's polar waters each summer to feed on massive shoals of tiny krill, a nearly microscopic relative of the shrimp, before migrating to warmer waters, where they give birth to their young. Other marine mammals, like the distinctive leopard seal, named for its black spotted coat, also call these waters home. These big pinnipeds can weigh over 800 pounds. They're hunters living on smaller seals, penguins, birds, fish, and squid. The only predator they fear is the mighty killer whale. On shore, you won't see large, iconic animals like those of the Arctic. In fact, the largest terrestrial inhabitant here is but half an inch long, the wingless midge, an insect. However, what you will find in adorable abundance are penguins. Of the 17 species of penguin in the world, 7 spend time in Antarctica. Of these, 2 species are found nowhere else. The bountiful Adelie penguin, with an estimated population of 2.5 million pairs. And a rarer sighting on your expedition, the regal emperor penguin, who also calls Antarctica home year-round. These majestic creatures can grow to 4.5 feet tall. Penguins have evolved over time to swim rather than fly. With their wings acting as flippers, they glide gracefully through the Antarctic seas. Research has shown their waddling to be a highly effective means of walking on snow and ice. And when they toboggan across slick snow on their stomachs, they can outpace a running human. At the top of the world, near the North Pole, you'll encounter a whole different variety of wildlife. Camouflaged beautifully against a snowy landscape is the quintessential symbol of Arctic life, the polar bear. Ursus maritimus, the maritime bear. It's born on land but beautifully adapted for moving across floating ice and swimming open waters. The polar bear prefers a diet of seals, but when the sea ice is scarce, they adapt their diet and eat almost anything with protein, including reindeer. The walrus is one of the Arctic's most lovable creatures, with its whiskers, tusks, and rotund physique. These same qualities, however, have made them a prized commodity over the centuries to the region's indigenous people, who've hunted walrus for their meat, blubber, tusks, and skin. You may spot walruses in their preferred shallow waters, feasting on clams and other mollusks. The Svalbard reindeer also calls this rugged environment home. They live a nomadic life in a never-ending search for food, covering as much as 5,000 kilometers a year, in their quest to build the fat reserves they'll need to survive winter. Connecting the two ends of the Earth is one tireless creature, the tiny Arctic tern. This ambitious little bird travels up to 44,000 100,000 miles annually, the longest migration in the world, from the Arctic to Antarctica and back again, logging more than 1 million miles in its lifetime. Whether you explore the Arctic or Antarctica, you're sure to be both humbled and awed by the majestic wildlife you'll find on these extraordinary expeditions.
Exploring this remote destination in depth and comfort is made simple with Viking specialty outerwear and expedition equipment, which are included with your fare. Memorable excursions such as a special operations boat cruise around icebergs and glaciers, and discoveries during shore landings make for an intriguing discussion back on board with one of our Viking specialists. From our Finsa terrace, you can soak up views of the surrounding frozen wonderland as you traverse back through the Drake Passage. Take some time to unwind amid exceptional surroundings with heated couches and lava rock fire pits, allowing you to enjoy the outdoors, no matter the temperature. Emerging from the Hermite Islands archipelago, at the convergence of the mighty Atlantic and Pacific Oceans, is Cape Horn. As the last area of land on Earth before Antarctica, this stunningly stark place is a sight to behold, especially at Hornos Island, where there's an enormous prehistoric-looking massif of mesmerizing Jurassic volcanic rock. Atop stands its historic red and white lighthouse near the water's edge, which has guided sailors since 1962. Now, we return to the breathtakingly gorgeous coastal town of Ushuaia, where you can immerse yourself in sweeping views of Argentinian nature with a scenic drive through the lakes and forests of the Fuegan Andes or Tierra del Fuego National Park, or you can join a 4x4 safari to go hiking through Carbajal Valley. Get your cameras ready because once again we'll sail by the southernmost headland of Tierra del Fuego, Cape Horn. Over the next 2 days, prepare to be enchanted as Chilean glaciers and fjords come into view. Spanning the border of Chile and Argentina, the southern Patagonian ice field stretches along the spine of the Andes Mountains for more than 200 miles. Science lovers will love taking a ride via Zodiac to a nearby glacier and participating in science projects both on shore and on board. Kayaking here offers an incredible vantage point of this unique landscape. Later in the evening, you'll be able to absorb the exquisite purity of the night sky while stargazing. Nestled amid spectacular mountain vistas on the eastern shores of the Brunswick Peninsula is the Chilean port of Punta Arenas, one of the southernmost cities in the world. You can discover the history of the globe's first circumnavigation and visit a life-size replica of Magellan's ship. Get up close and personal with the local flora and fauna by visiting either Magdalena Island and Penguin Reserve by speedboat, or Estancia Fitzroy, a charming 100-year-old sheep farm. You can also take a tour through the Strait of Magellan or absorb the forested mountain slopes of the majestic Patagonian Andes by foot on a downhill forest hike. Indulge in immaculate views of the world-famous Chilean fjords, a pristine paradise of soaring peaks, countless lush islands teeming with wildlife, and a tapestry of glaciers and rivers spilling into shimmering waters. This area is renowned as one of the most brilliantly rugged and untamed places on Earth. Admire the remaining glaciers of blue-tinged ice, which were once a part of the ancient Patagonian ice sheet, which remains the largest expanse of ice in the southern hemisphere aside from Antarctica. You may wish to partake in an invigorating hike across the icy terrain of a remote glacier, or experience local wildlife during a scientist-led Zodiac landing on shore. Becoming a citizen scientist is even possible by setting out in a special operations boat to conduct a sonar survey of surrounding waters. One of the most remote destinations in southern Chile, Tortel, is surrounded by wild and untamed nature, with rocky shores, blue ice glaciers, and subpolar forests to create unspoiled landscapes of epic beauty. A charming settlement built on wooden stilts, its intricate wooden walkway system winds for miles through the town and surrounding wilderness. You will be pleased to get another look at the wondrous fjords and channels of Chile as we pass through them again. Today, you will discover Castro, the colorful capital of the Chiloé archipelago. The city is renowned for its palafitos, traditional brightly painted houses which are built on stilts along the waterfront. You can embrace this amazing place by taking a relaxing Fjords cruise in a special operations boat. For those feeling even more adventurous, you can sign up for kayaking or a hiking tour, or a Zodiac Island landing. The third time's the charm as we sail the Chilean fjords once more. Carved out by receding glaciers starting more than 2.5 million years ago, the fjords are composed of several hundred channels and passages that wind their way past walls of blue ice, dense forests, and steep mountain ranges. Now we'll traverse along the largest ocean in the world, the Pacific Ocean, which was once called Mar Pacifico, meaning peaceful sea, by Ferdinand Magellan, when he crossed these waters almost 500 years ago. As you relish the oceanic serenity, you can take some time to renew your body, mind, and spirit in one of our rejuvenation experiences, such as our Scandinavian-inspired spa, a Nordic sanctuary of holistic wellness. Feel the enticing energy of Chile's modern capital, Santiago, which is one of the largest cities in the Americas. Its impressive neoclassical, neo-Gothic, Art Deco, and other architecture spans many centuries. You can dive into the local culture and environment by taking a dip in the local thermal baths at El Corazon, discovering lush vineyards and winemaking traditions, watching a rodeo demonstration at a Chilean horse ranch, and that's just a few of the unique excursions available in this enriching city. Linger on the bow deck for vistas of azure and turquoise as you sail through the glistening waters of the Pacific. Today is a perfect day to replenish in the soaking pools or to stroll on the promenade deck. Today your journey brings you to discover the historic town known as Iquique, Chile. Located between the Pacific Ocean and the Pampa del Tamarugal, Iquique stands on a vast plateau within the Atacama Desert. Explore its ghost-like community that appears to have stood still in time as you learn about the city's past mining culture, and of course the indigenous peoples of the region who crafted the world's largest geoglyph here, the Atacama Giant. Soak up the views from the Finca Terrace and relax amid your surroundings in comfort, with heated couches and lava rock fire pits, allowing you to enjoy the outdoors as you admire Pacific Ocean vistas. Food lovers will be sure to relish the plethora of decadent dining experiences we have curated for you on board. The next stop on your voyage is Lima, Peru, one of the most cosmopolitan cities in South America. Lima's extravagant collection of architecture spans the centuries. Early colonial, Spanish Baroque, neoclassical, and Art Nouveau buildings all adorn the cityscape. The historic center, graced with hundreds of balconies built during the Vice-Royalty era, is a UNESCO site. Today you will cross the Pacific Ocean and learn about its fascinating geology, with more than 75,000 volcanoes, many still active, reaching up from its depths. Whether you unwind in the sauna, refresh in the snow grotto, or enjoy our thermal pool, you will feel recharged and revitalized. Manta, the largest seaport in Ecuador, is the next city to welcome you. Experience Manta's iconic fish market, savor the mouth-watering cuisine of the area, learn some Ecuadorian dance moves, and more during our exciting excursions. For those who wish to step off the beaten path, you can embark on a nature trek in the Pacoche forest, or delve into the ancient history of Ecuador's native people at the ruins of Cerro Javanchilo. Pacific Ocean may have been officially discovered in 1521, yet early civilizations have been traversing these waters since 3000 BC. As you sail today, attend an informative lecture or watch a film on our 8K laser-projected panoramic screen in the aula, one of the world's most advanced venues for learning at sea. Today, you will glide through the Panama Canal, which connects the Pacific and Atlantic Oceans. A full transit through the 48-mile-long canal takes around 8 to 10 hours and passes through the Gatun Lake and the Culebra Cut, an artificial valley that runs through the Continental Divide. An engineering marvel of the 20th century, the Panama Canal Transit is a rite of passage and a truly memorable experience. Allow the city of Colón, Panama, to enamor you with its rich green scenery and natural splendor. Colón lies near the Panama Canal's Atlantic entrance. While you are here, There are myriad excursions to choose from, like meeting the keepers of the Panamanian rainforest, the Ambera tribe, who share their vivid culture warmly and openly. Or maybe you will discover the rainforest jungle during an invigorating boat ride through the Panama Canal. Imagine the wildlife you will encounter when you see the tropical Gamboa rainforest from a bird's eye view on an open-air aerial tram. Sip on a tasty cocktail as you sail through turquoise waters of the Caribbean Sea, where legends of marauding pirates, swashbucklers, and tales of hidden treasures were born. Meet fellow guests and listen to the soothing sounds of classical music in the living room, an ideal setting for relaxation. The island of Cozumel holds the keys to many of the most intriguing secrets of Mexico's ancient civilizations, while flaunting a fascinating colonial history. Today, this island off Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula attracts as many snorkelers as it does history buffs. Cozumel Reefs National Marine Park is the world's second largest coral reef system. Dive into adventure with a jungle ATV exploration or experience the underwater magic of the coral reef with a scuba diving excursion. You can relish in your ship's many amenities today as you gracefully make your way through the Gulf of Mexico. This lovely body of water has been witness to much of the history of North and Central America. In 1497, Amerigo Vespucci was reportedly the first European to sail into the Gulf's basin, charting its coast and changing the world map. Today, you will discover the seaside glamour of Fort Lauderdale, a blissful leisure destination which is located in Florida of the United States. Several excursions are available to you here, like a wildlife airboat ride through the Everglades, or a hike through Big Cypress National Preserve. If you fancy playing a round of golf at a premier course, that is most certainly an option too. Sail the Atlantic Ocean, divided in half north to south by the Mid-Atlantic Ridge. Longer than the Rockies, the Himalayas, and the Andes combined, this underwater mountain range is the longest on Earth. While at sea, you can take a brisk walk around the promenade deck, or begin your day with a workout in the well-equipped fitness center. Now we'll visit historically charming southern town of Charleston, South Carolina. Charleston is notable for its many well-preserved colonial homes and churches, charming streets and courtyards, and expansive parks and gardens. Well, here you can paddle the winding coastal waterways during an invigorating kayak excursion, or catch a glimpse of the local avifauna on a birdwatching tour. Sail legendary waters where medieval Europeans believed there be dragons beyond the ocean's horizon. As you sail today, indulge in international cuisine on board at the World Cafe, enjoy alfresco dining on the Akavit Terrace, or regional specialties in the restaurant. Now, we arrive in the waterfront city of Norfolk, Virginia. With its striking setting on a wide natural harbor, Norfolk is home to the world's largest naval base. Revisit America's colonial past during visits to the historic cities of Yorktown, Williamsburg, and Jamestown. Or you may wish to explore the maritime heritage at the Nauticus Museum. You can also choose to visit the beautiful gardens and view a world-class collection of art at the Norfolk Botanical Garden. Learn all about the nutrient-dense waters of the Atlantic Ocean as you enjoy a day at sea. Meet fellow guests with a refreshing cocktail and listen to the contemporary duo in the Explorer's Lounge with a fantastic forward view, an ideal setting for relaxation. Welcome to the inspiring concrete jungle of New York City, where skyscrapers tower over the streets that sparkle with culture, cuisine, and architectural beauty. Music lovers can marvel at Carnegie Hall, or catch a 1920s-style jazz and blues show in Harlem. Romantics may board a horse-drawn carriage in Central Park. Art lovers can browse a museum of modern art, or see a show on Broadway. You may wish to pay tribute to the 9/11 Memorial Museum while you're in town, or perhaps go birdwatching in Central Park. Of course, taking a comprehensive tour through New York City's iconic streets never disappoints. As you enjoy a day sailing the Atlantic Ocean, explore our well-curated library, with books in the library, living room, explorer's lounge, and many other public areas around the ship. And there are almost as many places to sit and read one of these books as there are books on board. Find your favorite spot, or choose a new spot each day to sit and relax. Appreciate the storybook charm and natural beauty of Lunenburg, Nova Scotia. The rolling hills, boreal forests, and coastal cliffs here are as unspoiled as they are mesmerizing. Its historic old town, both a UNESCO World Heritage Site and a National Historic Site, is considered the best surviving example of planned British colonial settlement in North America. Today, you will discover the stunning landscapes of Cape Breton Island, which sits at the confluence of the Gulf of St. Lawrence and the Atlantic Ocean. This island is home to an array of bird life, so keep an eye out and you might just catch a glimpse of a cormorant, a hawk, or a skua. We offer many excursions for you to choose from here, including stepping back in time to the 18th century during a fascinating visit to the historic Fortress of Louisbourg, or experience the rugged majesty of the coastline during a stroll along the Louisbourg Lighthouse Trail. We have arrived at the village of Capomule, or Grindstone Cape, which was named for the headland on Grindstone, one of Quebec's 13 Magdalene Islands, or Les Îles de la Madeleine. The second largest of the Magdalenes is sure to impress with its picturesque cliff-lined shores, enriching history and local art scene. Soak in the sights and examine local wildlife by taking a scenic drive, or board a special operations boat to view the coast from the water. You can also enjoy a route around the Magdalene Islands from the vantage point of a Zodiac ride. Admire panoramic vistas from the perspective of the St. Lawrence River. Flowing through the fertile lowlands that link the Great Lakes to the Atlantic Ocean, this is one of North America's most scenic waterways. Canada's second longest river features a number of great cultural capitals, including the stately facade of the Chateau Frontenac, the gleaming skyline of Montreal, and the pastoral islands of Île d'Orléans. Welcome to what is known as the most French city in Canada, Quebec City. Cobblestone roads and divine French architecture and French cuisine evoke old-world medieval villages. Impressively, this is the only remaining fortified town in North America outside of Mexico. Revel in the city's beauty by going on a walking tour through the old town and Montmorency Falls, or partake in a hiking adventure at Mont Sainte-Anne or Cap Tourmente National Wildlife Area. Trois-Rivières is the cultural center of Quebec's Maurice region. This picturesque city was established in 1634, the second after Quebec City in 1608, to be permanently settled in New France. Perhaps you'll explore the channels and bays of Lake Saint-Pierre, a UNESCO Biosphere Reserve, during an enchanting boat ride, or animal lovers may wish to join a naturalist guide to observe wild black bears and beavers in their natural habitat. Today, you will travel through a brilliant feat of engineering, the St. Lawrence Seaway. Comprising a series of locks, canals, and channels, this waterway allows ships and goods to travel from the Atlantic Ocean up the St. Lawrence River to Lake Superior. 7 locks point the way between Montreal and Lake Ontario, detouring past rapids and several dams. Now, you will explore Toronto, beloved by many as one of Canada's boldest and most innovative provincial capitals, which hugs the shores of Lake Ontario. Delve into the history of this metropolis, or on a scenic drive to view the city's eclectic architecture and bustling squares, or you may wish to experience Toronto's gorgeous waterfront by kayak. You have reached the Welland Canal, which is one of Canada's greatest engineering feats of the 19th century, comprised of 8 locks that lift or lower ships for a total 326 feet of elevation between Lake Ontario and Lake Erie. It is also the gateway to North America's largest and most powerful cascade, Niagara Falls. You will have the opportunity to marvel at the sheer power of these cascading falls during a walk along the top of the gorge or an up-close boat cruise at its base. Point Pelee is a pristine area that points into Lake Erie from Ontario, tapering off to a fine point before disappearing into the waters. You can navigate the purple-tinted sands of the Spit on board a Zodiac, or sail along the Spit via a special operations boat to spot local flora and fauna. Bird lovers will adore using binoculars to watch unique species inhabiting the area. Located at the convergence of 2 major bird migration flyways, about 350 species have been recorded here, such as orioles, swifts, and the rare warblers. Today, you arrive in the Motor City, better known as Detroit, Michigan. Detroit sits on one of the four straits that link the Great Lakes to the St. Lawrence Seaway and has emerged as a city rich in culture and automobile history. You can explore the history of American achievement during the 20th century at the Henry Ford Museum of Innovation, or maybe you'd enjoy a tour of the Motown Museum, affectionately called Hitsville, USA, and see where R&B and soul greats such as Stevie Wonder, Marvin Gaye, and the Supremes, and many more recorded their hit songs. We now venture onto Alpena, which is the largest city in Michigan's thinly populated Lower Peninsula. The town faces Lake Huron's impressive Thunder Bay. Shore excursions include a museum visit and glass-bottom boat ride over storied shipwrecks. You can also take a motor coach to explore two of the area's historic lighthouses. Steeped in the charms of simpler times, Mackinac Island is a gem of the Great Lakes. Located in the Straits of Mackinac, where Michigan's upper and lower peninsulas are closest, this is where Lake Huron and Lake Michigan meet. Discover the island's historic whimsy by foot, horse-drawn carriage, or a splendid bike ride along the Lakeshore Drive. For our last destination, we call on Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Milwaukee is an extraordinary city that lies on the shores of Lake Michigan at the confluence of three rivers, the Milwaukee, Menominee, and Kinnickinnic. Boasting shimmering views of the surrounding water, this is a perfect place to mark the end of your voyage. During your time here, explore the sights of Milwaukee. The Riverwalk winds through the city as a pedestrian walkway along the Milwaukee River, a popular spot for enjoying relaxing strolls or viewing public art installations. Or set out by motor coach for a panoramic tour on one of our included excursions to delve into the city's past and present. Your journey concludes here in Milwaukee. After breakfast on board, many of you will disembark and proceed to the airport for your return flight home. Some of you will continue on with us to explore more with Viking after your sailing. We have a very special 2-night post-extension package in the iconic city of Chicago, Illinois. Over 2 nights, take an after-hours tour of the Art Institute of Chicago, home to the largest collection of Impressionist and Post-Impressionist art outside the Louvre. Discover Chicago's architectural gems during a walking tour and cruise. Explore the historic Frank Lloyd Wright district and see the works of one of America's most revered architects. Enjoy a selection of hearty fare during an exploration of Chicago's food scene. Viking is also proud to offer 2 other upcoming World Cruise itineraries. Our Longitudinal World Cruise II is a 71-day voyage on the new Viking Polaris, which sails from Duluth, Minnesota to Ushuaia, Argentina. Longitudinal World Cruise III is a 70-day voyage on Viking Octantis, which begins in the Great Lakes, sails to Antarctica, and ends in Ushuaia. Thank you for joining me today on Viking.TV. This concludes our presentation. Now it's time for your questions.
Hi, thanks, Aaron. So I've got some questions here for you. So the first one we're going to start with tonight is from Marvin in Tualatin. Which species of penguin might we see?
Well, I think I'll take that one. Thank you for the question, Marvin. We will have in Antarctica, first of all, we'll have brush-tailed penguins. So we'll have gentoos, adelies, and chinstrap penguins. And then as we go up to the southern parts of South America, we'll have Magellanic and Humboldt penguins. So we're confident we'll see 5 species of penguin on the southern parts of the voyage as you're heading north.
Thanks, Damon. That's great. Eddie from the United States asks, is there any shorter trip for Antarctic sail?
Yeah, thank you, Eddie, for that question. And we do have Antarctic trips that we're offering throughout the season. And so our general trip is an 11-night trip, Ushuaia to Ushuaia. And we offer those from November through to this voyage, the start of this voyage, which is in March.
Thanks, Aaron. Howard from Littleton asks, I've booked this voyage for the Antarctica leg. When will I be able to experience going in the submersible? And also similar questions from Troy and Rochelle asking about any height and weight limitations.
Yeah, thank you. That's a great question. for the Antarctic portion, we will definitively dive as many times as we can, as many days as we can when we're on the Antarctic Peninsula. And when we come further north, the opportunities are much more limited. However, where we can, we will dive, but we cannot confirm anything further north. Segueing across to the question about physical, the height, I am 6'4". I was comfortably climbing down into the submarine, and I was able to, with a little bit of a high knees, I found a good position in one of the 3 seats on my side of the sub. There are these 2 spheres of glass that you sit inside with three chairs a little bit offset each other. So it's a confined space. However, we haven't implemented any height restrictions. A little bit of background on the sub and why we chose exactly this sub in competition with one other model was that the hatch that you climb into has a diameter of 2 feet approximately, and that was the larger opening. So that is a good aperture, which is obviously a limitation. You have to fit into that, and our guideline to the sub operations team on weight is 275 pounds. However, it is we're all built differently, and we've heard stories, we haven't experienced ourselves, that the 7-footer have been challenged going into the sub just because of the large frame, but it can accommodate quite a few people for sure. So I hope that helps.
Thanks, Jørn. That's great. Our next question is from Robert in the US. Does this cruise follow the same track through the Chilean fjords that the Viking Jupiter does on its South America itinerary?
Yeah, thank you, Robert, for that question. And there will be some crossover in the itinerary through the Chilean fjords, mainly due to the restricted navigating channels. So we will take pilots on, Chilean pilots, to bring the ship through the fjords in that part of the world. And so it's really up to the pilots to plot our route through and guide and navigate the ship through those fjords. And so there will be some crossover as each pilot has their preferred ways through some of the narrow waterways. So yeah, there will be some crossover. It's stunning scenery, and seeing it in a different time of day or a different lighting condition, seeing a fjord that you saw overcast in sunshine, or vice versa, seeing it with the wind whipping the wave tops off, really changes the view. So if you were lucky to experience it last February, and I imagine you'll be excited to be back and see some more of the same scenery.
Thanks, Aaron. Our next one is from Billy in Florida. She asks, can you tell us a bit more about the wildlife in South America? What might we see while cruising around the Chilean fjords? Also, is there an opportunity to use the kayaks in this area?
Well, from a wildlife point of view, in South America, certainly with the opportunities we'll have for going ashore, and it's also from small boats where we're getting around, it will be very much bird life. So the New World bird life will have professional ornithologists with you, and so that would be very much what to be looking out for. Regarding the kayaking, I'm going to defer to our kayaking specialist beside me.
Yeah, the kayaking, certainly where this is a windy part of South America. The waves, the weather sort of brushes up onto that western coast of Chile. So in that part of the voyage, the Chilean fjord part of the voyage, if the winds are light, then we'll be happily out in the kayaks. And as we move further north, we move into calmer seas generally and calmer weather conditions. So we'll have increased opportunity to paddle throughout the voyage. Down in the Antarctic, we'll have some great opportunities to paddle also, wind and weather permitting.
Thank you very much. Ron from Puerto Rico asks, there are so many amazing destinations on this journey. In your opinion, which activities and excursions should definitely not be missed?
Hey, I can try out this one because you're absolutely right. It is a very unique part of the world. We're sailing through fjords. And as a Norwegian, I relate to fjords. Fjordos, they call it in Spanish. However, the landscape is different. So whenever we try to offer something with the ship's own equipment, we encourage everybody to join in. That be a Zodiac, a special operations boat, for example. These fjords are different from the Norwegian ones because you have the southern boreal forest all the way down to the beach, and you have sort of that vegetation which is much denser than in Norway, for example, scattered in with glaciers coming all the way down to the water's edge in the bottom of those fjords. So it's a similar but also extremely different experience from the Norwegian fjords. So encouraging everybody to join in when we try to get up close and personal in these places. Personally, having sailed up and down those fjords a few times, I really love one of the destinations that I like to highlight is Castro. Castro is a town on the island of Chilean, and it's a town enlisted on the UNESCO World Heritage List. And due to its architecture, due to its, it's a very, very special town with a special food tradition. They have a dish called coranto, and it's close and right on the edge of the Pacific Ocean. And it's a relatively isolated community because it's on this island. So that I'd like to highlight. I'd also like to highlight Machu Picchu, which is a side trip that you can do from Iquique and then board again in Lima, which is obviously taking you far into the mountains. And Peruvian mountains, and you see this ancient city of Machu Picchu. And have you ever seen it? You will never forget it because it's just so mind-boggling how this architectural masterpiece was built so long ago with only human power available. So, I mean, I could have talked about the Panama Canal. And there's just this highlight after highlight on this voyage that are not to be missed. So join in as much as possible on excursions and tours.
Thanks, Jørn. Our next question is from Broderick in London. Will different experts and speakers be joining for the different stages of the cruise? Can you tell us a bit more about what kind of workshops and lectures there will be? And also, Sophia in Denver, on a kind of similar note, can you tell us about how the science projects changes in the different regions you visit?
Well, I'll endeavour to answer those questions. Thank you for the questions. So first of all, yes, the first element is, do our specialists change as we change through the regions? And the answer will be, there will be some who have skills that are relevant for the whole voyage, and then there'll be some that will be changing, that will be region specific. So we have specialists aboard that cover different aspects such as geology, such as the history and archaeology and human history, if you will. We always will have ornithologists on board, the bird life throughout the voyage. I was thinking of adding to, thinking about what Jørn was saying a moment ago about highlights. for me, one of the extraordinary elements of the voyage is this extraordinary migration from the north to the south. And so from a birding point of view as well, following such an iconic routing. We have an oceanographer on board as well, and the oceanography side is one of the constants, in fact. And then we have naturalist guides as well, who would be destination specific, region specific skills to help interpret the natural world around you. Regarding the science, segueing from the oceanography, there are elements of what we do on board that are constant monitoring. So one of the really amazing parts and one of the very long transects that we're doing is that going from one end of the Earth to the other, is that the monitoring data that we gather, oceanographic monitoring using automated sensors on board, as well as gathering samples such as microplastic samples that we can sample regularly. These are workflows and experiences that our guests can get involved with as much as they choose to throughout the voyage. And then there are other specific projects that different partners, so of our academic partners, for example, we have Cambridge University's Scott Polar Research Institute, so by its nature is polar work, will be specific work in the Antarctic. And then we also have work from another of our partners, NOAA, the US National Oceanographic and Atmospheric Administration. The work that we do with them is specific in the Great Lakes, framed around gathering environmental information that helps us protect the vulnerable waterways that we're sailing through.
Thanks, Damon. That's great. A couple of questions from Richard in Lake City, both for Aaron. The first one, what activities are the Zodiacs used for between Valparaiso and Panama? And his second question is the submarine only accessed while in the water?
Yeah, thank you for these questions, Richard. And in terms of our stops in between Valparaiso and Panama, and a few of the communities we visit will, weather permitting, of course, take the opportunity to put Zodiacs on the water. I don't have a list of those off the top of my head at the moment, but there'll be a few of the communities where we are putting Zodiacs down, where we'll have kayaks in the water as well. And so there are a few spots through that. In terms of the submarine, is it accessed only while in the water? Yes, they're located in garages within the hangar on board, but it's not easy to access them in those garages. So we keep those garages closed while the subs are in the garages. So once we launch the sub, then we would take you up by Zodiac to the sub and have you board the sub and go on board. When you're coming through the hangar to go to a special operations boat ride, or perhaps on a hangar tour, then you'll get an opportunity to see the submarines in their garages at that point, and that can be arranged with the team on board the ship.
Thanks, Aaron. David asks, what kind of physical shape do you need to be in?
David, that's a great question, and we cater to all physical shapes on fitness levels, activity levels on the ship, and so as you're booking your activities on the trip, you can reach out to your sales contacts for additional information if you do have limitations, physical limitations. Obviously, I guess the better shape you're in, the wider range of activities you can participate in. But we do have a broad range of activities in each of the spots we visit throughout the voyage.
Thanks, Aaron. Darren from Falls Church asks, what are the evenings like on board? Can you tell us about the entertainment that's available?
I can tackle that as well. We have a series of lectures on board the ship in our aula, our theater, which has an aft view, beautiful theater that seats about 190 guests in it. A very large screen, a high resolution projector, and our lecturers present there. We also have the documentaries and occasionally show a movie in that venue as well. we've got a small entertainment department, I suppose you could say, on board the ship. Our lecturers are entertainers in their own way, but more enrichment, I suppose. But we have a classical duo that plays in the living room afternoons and evenings, as well as a contemporary duo that plays in the Explorers Lounge most evenings as well. And then occasionally our entertainment manager will be convinced to get on the stage and take over the stage for the evening and have his or her show as well. So it's a day full of activities on board. We do have a little secret activity that well, it's not really a secret. I'm going to tell you about it, so it's not much of a secret. We call it the Expedition Diaries, and throughout the voyage, we'll have various members of our expedition team share stories with you. Generally, the guideline is that generally they need to be true, but stories of their past exploits. If you catch them in the bar or in the dining room, you'll often hear some of these stories as well. But these are the exploits of specialists that have had interesting careers and life experiences, adventure experiences, in quite often out of the way parts of the world. So that's the Expedition Diaries from our expedition staff, and that's in the hide throughout the voyage. Not every night, but most nights.
Thanks, Aaron. Kathy from the United States is wondering if Viking provides any guidebooks, checklist to each cabin that highlight the wildlife that you may be seeing.
So thank you for the question, Kathy. There are guidebooks in each of the staterooms, and in addition, there is an extensive library as well of a whole range of different books, and our naturalist guides and our ornithologists will run checklists and indeed run workshop sessions and wildlife watching sessions with our guests to encourage both those that like to do lists to gather information, and also how to gather information to share with the wider world. So citizen science data gathering as well. And that's all the long sea journey elements. There is looking for marine mammals, looking for birds and seabirds and so on. And then when going on the shore on the excursions and going out with the guides. So yeah, plenty of opportunity for those that are keen on wildlife watching.
Thanks, Damon. Alana from Leamington asks, any tips for packing for a journey of this length? As we are going to visit so many different climates, what are the essential items not to forget, and what equipment is provided on board?
Yeah, I can answer that. Obviously, the question is very relevant, as it's a long, you're sailing through some of the coldest places on Earth, through some of the warmest places on Earth on the same voyage. However, you do have to pack for the colder part, definitively. That means warm socks, mittens or gloves, hat, warm underwear. We supply you with a windbreaker, wind and waterproof jacket, and an insulator. Everybody gets that upon arrival to the ship, so you don't have to fill your suitcase with that voluminous piece of gear. We also borrow you a wind and waterproof pant for the trip, and also boots. So we have super comfortable neoprene boots that will keep you toasty and dry when we go into the Zodiacs. So that cold weather gear counts for much of the volume and weight, and then that leaves you to plan for the warmer climate. You will still be able to utilize your cold weather gear in the Chilean fjords. Definitively, but once we get up to Valparaiso, it's gradually getting warmer and warmer and warmer. So we recommend having a sun hat. If you go into the land on excursions, you might want to have a mosquito net in front of you to cover your face. Some UV protective clothing can be a good idea. Short pants, sandals, and light, sporty clothes that protect you from the sun. And then when we come up towards the temperate or colder regions, early, in the springtime, going into the Great Lakes, we might get days when you want to pick out your Antarctic gear again. So just going through all these climatic zones is an experience in itself on the one same voyage. But I hope this helps you on your way in the packing.
Thanks, Jørn. Mary from the United States asks, tell us more about the offshore trips. Are some included, then some for an extra fee?
Thank you for that question, Paul. And Mary, yes, that is a good question. And in each port we visit, we'll have excursions that are included to all guests. In some of the ports, there'll be optional excursions as well that you can choose to book into. Those excursions will come available online before the voyage. Sort of 60 to 70 days, I believe it is, before the voyage, and you'll have the opportunity to book into those various excursions, either the included or the optional additional voyages or excursions.
Thanks, Aaron. John from the United States is asking if where he can view the Viking cruise on the Nile.
Yeah, thank you, John. And I direct you to the Viking Rivers website and brochures for more information on that fabulous river cruise on the Nile. And watch this space on Viking.TV. I'm sure one Wednesday coming up we'll see an episode, a Wanderlust Wednesday episode on the Nile cruise.
Thanks, Aaron. I've got a question here from Noemi in Tzana. I see this cruise can be done south to north or north to south. Can you comment on the different directions and which would you recommend?
That's a hard one. I think I've done that cruise in both directions, or not the complete cruise, but the main portions of it. Sailing south, obviously the times of year are going to be different. The seasons are opposite in the southern hemisphere to the northern hemisphere, so it's a slightly different seasonal experience. And you will have spring in South America sailing south, and you will have fall in South America sailing north. Both those seasons, represents a little bit of a variety in wildlife. For example, you have migratory birds settling and starting to nest on the southbound voyage, whereas they're wrapping up their season on the northbound voyage. But you have a lot of endemic wildlife that will be there all year, like the Andean condor. You will see it throughout the year. You will be able to see the jet black, fire red headed Magellanic woodpecker throughout the year. The penguins are there all the time. So you will have much of a similar experience, and there will be nuances for the detail-oriented traveler. That might help guide you which direction you want to sail. Coming into the Great Lakes in the spring is quite exciting. The rivers are releasing their cover of ice, and it's a colder climate compared to when you sail from the Great Lakes, most likely because you sail from the Great Lakes in the fall, going southbound, and you come into the Great Lakes right after the ice has let go. So there are these nuances, and you just have to make up your mind what kind of seasons you like the most. So I hope that helps.
Thanks, Jørn. Our next question is from Ralph in Newtown. And he says, I'm a keen hiker. Can you tell me more about the opportunities to walk on Antarctica and also other hiking in the Andes and around the Great Lakes?
Yeah, I can address that question again. In Antarctica, we will do landings when we are done on the Antarctic Peninsula, and some of the landing sites have a quite wide perimeter, and you will have some good hiking. On this voyage, relatively late in the season, you will have kind of the minimum snow cover in Antarctica, meaning that much of the hiking you can do without snowshoes. If there are snow cover, we will offer snowshoes that you can pull on, but most of it will be without snowshoes. You will be confined to a kind of a dedicated area, both for safety reasons and environmental reasons in Antarctica. So the hikes will not be super long, but half an hour, 3/4 of an hour, an hour's hike, that is completely possible on some of the landing sites in Antarctica. As a young man, I traveled to Patagonia, and I hiked around Patagonia for 3 months. And that is, to me, well, before I got there, it was utopia of hiking. And when I got there, I realized that it was even better than that. So if you do have the opportunity to spend some time, for example, before the voyage, around Ushuaia or around Punta Arenas for that sake, if you even allow yourself the time to travel into the Torres del Paine National Park, you have some of the best hiking you can ever imagine. You can do the big circle around the Torres del Paine Mountains, these granite cliffs standing right out of the Pampas, several thousand meters, almost 10,000 feet high. Or you can do the double view going up close to the towers of the Torres del Paine. That's some of the bucket list hikes in the world. Also hiking around Machu Picchu and in the mountains of Peru. If you have that opportunity, that is also just amazing. And not to mention, if you were able to do a jungle hike in Panama, for example, that is just a very different experience. But nevertheless, in contrast to the hikes you've done earlier, just amazing, and perhaps the most exotic to me as a Norwegian. And up in the Great Lakes, Aaron, you've done so many more hikes than I've done around the Great Lakes. I think you should talk to that.
Yeah, thank you, Jørn, and you made me want to go back to Patagonia with your description of the hiking. And in the Great Lakes on this itinerary, we'll have some opportunities down on Lake Erie and Point Pelee National Park, and that's pretty easy, more walking than hiking, I would suppose. It's more of a bird watching park that time of the year. Boardwalks out into the marsh and down to the point or the tip of the spit to see all the migratory birds. And there's some hikes on Mackinac Island around Alpena, but we'll need to entice you onto one of our other Great Lakes voyages, the Great Lakes Explorer or Undiscovered Great Lakes, to get more hiking in onto the Canadian Shield. Yeah, I think that's a good summary, Jørn, and I tried to follow up.
Thank you very much. Diane from the United States asks, what kind of accommodations do you have for elderly people, such as 85 years?
Yeah, thank you, Diane. And 85 years young, or 85 years old. That really depends on what accommodations. The ship is well laid out. It's comfortable for all ages and activity levels. On days, there may be some days where you just you've had enough walking in the snow in Antarctica and you need to take a break. And the ship itself offers incredible viewpoints. There are so many places to sit around the ship and enjoy the views from Antarctica, whether it be forward looking in the from the Explorer's Lounge on deck 4 or deck 5, in the living room looking out on either side of the ship on deck 5, from a seat in the World Cafe or the Aquavit Lounge at the back of the World Cafe on deck 5, and down in the aula or from the outside seating in La Finca Terrace. It's fantastic viewpoints from any of those places to just enjoy the scenery around the ship, whether it's in Antarctica, whether it's in the fjords. We have elevators, of course, lifts going to all the decks. Anywhere you want to or need to go on the ship, you can take a lift to get there. And so, from that point of view, if it's an accessibility question, we're well equipped from that regard. And yeah, I hope that answers your questions.
Thanks, Aaron. Our next question is Rochelle from Milwaukee. Can you provide more info on the options that will exist for Machu Picchu and the Galapagos excursions? And she's asking, are they flight / overnight, off boat, etc.?
I can try on that. Yes, there are flights. There are overnight excursions that you can tie onto the ocean voyage. The ship will hug the coast, the Pacific coast of South America, so we will have to fly out to the Galapagos Islands, which I would recommend because it's just the area of the world with the most striking wildlife. There's overnight as well on both those mentioned excursions. On the Machu Picchu, you fly up to Cusco from Iquique, and from there on, there's a train ride up to Machu Picchu, and you do have to overnight in Cusco. You also have to be aware that when you fly from sea level up to 12,000 feet, you will notice that on your breath it will be shorter, but you will very rapidly adjust to that, and we will advise you on how to deal with that. You can chew different leaves and candy and so on, or you can get oxygen in other ways, but it's not strenuous. You don't need to be challenged to do physical activity in that height, and you will acclimatize relatively quick. We will have to defer to the information about these tours in our information connected to the voyage. But certainly both of those mentioned here will have overnights.
Thanks, Jørn. Well, that's all the time we've got for questions. I've got a few comments here that I'll read out. Some from Facebook. Susan is saying beautiful. Jørn is saying what a voyage. How I'd love to do that. And we've also got another comment here from Catherine, who's saying we had the amazing experience of being on Atlantis in May this year in the Great Lakes. Pure joy. We loved it. The ship is beautiful. The excursions and locations, such fun. I can attest to the brilliance of the hangar and its resources. As always, the food on board was excellent, and I would love to be on board the ship with the crew and these specialists for 65 days. She also says, hello to Aaron. We actually hiked with you in Killarney.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you for that comment, Catherine. Glad you had such a great trip, and I thoroughly enjoyed those hikes in Killarney. That was my first time back into that town to do some hiking in about 20 plus years. I'm sure I regaled you with the stories when I was on the hike. So thank you for taking the time to watch us, and we'd love to see you on this trip.
Brilliant. That's everything from me.
Well, thank you for joining us today on Viking TV. We look forward to seeing you on board at some point in the future, and or seeing you back here on Viking TV. Next Wednesday, we'll be talking about the Antarctic Explorer Voyage. So there were a few questions about Antarctica, and I would welcome you back to that show next week. Damon or Jørn, any concluding comments?
Is to say this is a wonderful migratory route, and going from one end of the world to the other. So we very much hope that we'll see some of you on board, and well, till next time.
Yeah, thank you very much. Choosing this voyage, you will really have to make up your mind whether the Norwegian fjords or the Chilean fjords are the most beautiful in the world. It is an absolutely wonderful voyage, and have a safe journey, and I hope to see you down there.